Good morning, Rotarians. Thank you for joining us. This club meeting is called to order. Shortly, I'll be sharing my screen and leading us through another fun-filled presentation to direct the conversation. Periodically, I'll bring that screen share down so we can see each other's beautiful and friendly faces and engage in more dialogue. Family and friends are always welcome to attend our club meetings. So don't hesitate to invite someone like maybe your local volleyball coach. Feel free to speak out as you would in an in-person meeting, but if you're not using your microphone, be sure to put yourself on mute, or maybe I'll do it at the cost of a club fine. And here we go. Awesome. Welcome everybody to the Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club meeting for April 7th, 2021, volume 40 of my presidential year. We have an outstanding, amazing Rotary Club, and I'm just so thankful to be a part of it. This time I'll bring down the screen share and we'll introduce some guests. We've got quite a few today, or at least three, I think last time I checked. We've got Hannah Lippe. Thanks for joining us. And let's see, Vanessa Vrtiak. Thanks for being here. They're both from Humboldt Harm Reduction Coalition. They'll be our presenters a little bit later on. We also have Brian Olson. Thanks for joining us, Brian. Let's see, I'm going to do a quick scan, see if any other, the rest of us are just the outstanding members that always show up. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. So normally at this time, we'd be doing the flag salute, but they just don't work so well in Zoom meetings. So why not a little bit of American history lesson? Did you know that on this day in 1931, the growth and popularity of the radio, the growth and popularity of the radio gave birth to the first late afternoon radio serial for children. It was called Little Orphan Annie. It was transmitted and drew a huge following of listeners. That was in 1931. Just 3 years later, the Ford Motor Company on this day became the first car maker to announce the option of white sidewall tires on its new cars, and the cost was only $11.25 per set. You know, you just don't see enough white wall tires anymore. Our inspirational message of the day. I think goals should never be easy. They should force you to work, even if they are uncomfortable at the time. So push through the uncomfort and you'll meet your goals. And for the four-way test, we're going to hand it over to Rick Center. Rick?
Thank you, Simon. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do are the following. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you so much. Said like only the charter president could say. Thank you so much. Let's see, we've got some announcements. If I can go to the next slide. Yes, I can. We have the board of directors ballot. This is the second voting opportunity. So we had the first wave and now you're doing the second one. Looks like most of you have cast your ballots. I looked last night, we had about 29 of you. So that was even more than our first round. So thank you so very much, everyone that's voted. But if you haven't, there was a link in our last email that I sent out about the club meeting. And hopefully you had a time to fill out the form also for our speakers today. That was in there too. District Training Assembly, it's now free. It doesn't cost. Usually it's $50, although our club pays back that money for you if you do intend to go. But now you don't even have to change the funds, buy the tickets, whatever, invoice the club. It's all free. And it is not this weekend, but next weekend, April 16th and 17th, Friday and Saturday. Great opportunity to learn more about Rotary, get involved with the district. Even for us seasoned Rotary members that have been to a lot of them, it's always an educational experience, and being an educator, I'm all for it. So please attend. The Fortuna Chamber of Commerce is doing a drive-up dinner fundraiser. And it's going to benefit the chamber, but also the Fortuna Skate Park. Tickets are on sale, and the dinner's this Friday, April 9th. So if you haven't got one already, I think it's a lasagna for a family of 4. Should be an awesome opportunity to support the chamber, and also a worthy cause of the Fortuna Skate Park. Give our local youth something to do in this town, right? Maybe a pool too, speaking of our speaker last week. And backpacks. So backpacks is our partnership with Food for People. We get food in the hands of youth that have food insecurities at their home. We do this every week that there's school in session. And so this week we've got Buster and Lori Garrison, Sue and Don Finch, as well as John Sapper. And the next week is spring break, so we'll take a week off. And April 21st, we've got Buster and Lori Garrison, Jeannie Weiss, and Sharon Binda. And,
yeah, Simon, I just wanted to take a minute to thank some of the folks that are kind of doing extra duty. Herb Colby and Sherry Jewett are helping every week. So if any of you want to come and give us a hand, we've got 148 backpacks we're doing weekly. With all the extra help, it doesn't take all that long. It seems like we're done in about an hour every time. So also, thanks to Kurt Weiss, he's going to take over delivering the kids that are absent from school and don't get their backpacks. Rotary is also delivering those backpacks on Fridays, and Kurt is going to be doing that for us while I'm going to cost myself some money here. We're going on a little vacation, so.
oh, nice.
Kurt is going to take over for me and Rick. So anyway, just wanted to thank all those people that are pitching in and helping. It's really nice. So if any of you want to show up, I know there's not spots to sign up to help, but if anybody wants to show up on Wednesdays at about 2:45 and give a hand, it'll always be appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Steve. I got to ask, since you inserted foot in mouth about that vacation coming up, do you want to pay now or later? Should I hit you when you get back?
Oh, always later.
Okay, good. More opportunities for it. I love it. I love it. Let's see. Anybody else while we're kind of in the spirit of announcements, general announcements, anything going on? You want to toot the horn of, I don't know, anything? If not, we'll keep moving.
Hey, Simon, I had a quick thing.
Yeah, lay your thing on us.
Maybe I'll just make an announcement instead. Just to build on the backpacks thing, we got a couple of nice checks in this week from some amazing Rotarians for the backpack program. The talented Sherry Jewett dropped by a check for $50, and Kurt and Jeannie Weiss dropped by a check for $500 for the backpacks program. So
outstanding. Yeah. Give it up.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Not only are these people showing up every week and volunteering, but they're also donating to the program. It just goes to show you our commitment to service above self as Rotarians. And gosh, you guys are outstanding. Thank you, Kurt, Dawn. I'm speaking for your wife who's not here, but thank you guys so very much. That's just sweet. You guys are outstanding. Cool. Thank you. I'm not even going to fine you for that one, Bob. That's just outstanding. All right. Okay. Well, nobody else? Hearing nothing? We'll keep moving. So, hey, being an art educator, every week I've been sharing the work of an artist. And usually my little virtual background will be a little hint on who I'm going to share each week. So maybe you can do some investigative reporting before it happens. But this week we're going to be looking at an outstanding artist that uses photography as their medium. And let me share now. We're going to look at the work of Graciela Iturbide, and I think you will love. I personally love this lady's work. So let's take a look, a little deeper dive here. So she was born in 1942 in Mexico City. In 1969, she enrolled at the age of 27 in film school. So this is a little later in her life, Some people find their calling early on. I know I didn't, but at 27, she entered into film school at the Centro de Estudios Cinematográficos at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico to become a film director. However, she was soon drawn to the art of still photography, and as a practice by a Mexican modernist master, Manuel Alvarez Bravo, who was teaching at the university from 1970 to 1971. And she worked as Bravo's assistant and accompanying him on various photographic journeys throughout Mexico. Now, he was more of a landscape photographer, and early on in her life, she did a lot more portraits, and we'll look at more of her portrait work, but later she moved into landscapes as well, taking photos of without people in them, right? So in the early half of the 1970s, Iturbide traveled widely across Latin America, particularly Cuba, and several trips to Panama, and took all these beautiful photos, as well as documenting a lot of the cultural stuff that was happening in her own country. And so here we've got 3 photos that she took. The one on actually, I think the 2 in the middle are from Huachitan, where she spent about 6 years kind of photographing and documenting and living among the people there. Just beautiful character studies. And then the photograph on the left is actually from Frida Kahlo's house. She did a series where she was brought in by the family to kind of document. And she took a lot of photographs of the bathroom in particular. And so this picture on the left is actually a self-portrait. Those are her feet, not Frida Kahlo's. But Frida took a similar photograph with actually water in the bathtub there. She was actually sitting in the bathtub. But Graciela had some issues in surgery on her feet. You can tell they're a little misshapen there. But I mean, I love just the grit and high emotional content, a lot of her things. She definitely has this way of capturing people's essence and soul, and also kind of their day-to-day life. Cool. All right, let's go a little deeper. So black and white photography is kind of what she's known for, and she's been called one of the most influential contemporary photographers of Latin America. She transforms the ordinary observation into personal and lyrical art. Her signature black and white gelatin silver prints present nuanced insights into the communities she photographs, revealing her own journey to understand her homeland and the world. Her photographs that she documents areas like Seri, Huachitan, Mixtec, societies offering compelling insight into the daily lives and customs of the indigenous men and women. Graciela demonstrates her deep awareness of complex cultural symbols through the representations of processions honoring the dead, as well as the lavish, exuberant fiestas that highlight Mexico's pre-Hispanic and Spanish heritages. Her depictions of animals, birds, and plants are rendered with as much sensitivity as her images of people, calling attention to the relationship between human presence and nature. And here we've got just some out of this world portrait photography. Once again, her medium is this black and white silver gelatin prints. So she's shooting all these on film, traditional film, not a digital photographer at all. She's been photographing her photographs the same way for years and years. And she also chooses not to use flashes or any type of lighting. So it's all natural lighting in all these pieces, which, if you've ever taken photos with natural lighting, it's very hard to capture your subjects and do it well. And she just does it so vibrantly. I love the piece on the right that's she's changed her viewpoint a little bit and she's looking up, and it just makes, actually the one on the left has that same technique. It's just a subtle down, the body's down and the camera's tilted up, and it makes everybody just seem larger than life, right? And just elegant plays on textures, right, in the clothing and the wrinkles in the fabric and stuff like that. I just love it. But also able to leave negative space, right? Negative space around those 2 characters in the left and right, or at the left and center there, where she leaves some blank space to let your eyes rest, which I love, love, love. Okay, we're gonna look at this last piece here, and I'm gonna call on a Rotarian from the club, and I think I'm gonna go back to Heather Kelly this morning. So Heather, if you're there, please unmute yourself, and I'm going to talk just a short little bit, and then I'm going to hand it over to you. So this is a piece by her that's Nuestra Senora de las Iguanas. And tell me a little bit about this. Critique, discuss, interpret, talk about the type of medium. Heather Kelly, I'm passing it over to you.
Thank you. This is always my favorite. Personally, I love black and white, so her photography is really speaking to me. This picture specifically, though, obviously it's of a person, but then the animals, are those iguanas on her head. And then the floral on her shirt or her dress there really stands out. So there's not as much focus on the face, though her eyes still stand out as kind of being lost, like she's just staring out into nowhere. Yeah, that's what I got on that one.
Cool, cool. Anybody else want to jump in and help Heather out? Talk a little bit about this? Okay, quiet bunch this morning. We've been so talkative about work. So Heather, great job. Thank you. I love that you talked about patterns and prints, right? The floral pattern on her dress there. And then also you've got these iguanas that are these scaly creatures that have all these textures and patterns to them. So there's a very conscious effort to capture both those things. And then she's also got a shallow depth of field. So she's probably reduced what they call the f-stop, right? Which is this kind of window of depth in photography, so that the subject is very clean and crisp, yet the background's very blurred out. Looks like maybe there's a suggestion of the arch in the back. The iguanas on her head, she's selling for people to eat. I've heard that in some countries they call them, what is it? Pollo de árbol, the tree chickens, right? Because they crawl up a lot of trees and stuff. But there's actually a couple live ones on her head still. I think 2 of them were alive and the rest of them are, recently deceased there. But those are people's food and that's how she's selling. It's kind of advertisement right there. And anyway, I thought you did an awesome job this morning. Thank you so much. Black and white is striking. I tell you, as an artist, sometimes it's easier to do stuff in black and white because you don't have to worry so much about color and how they complement each other or don't and fight with each other. So black and white always just looks striking and bold. And so great observation there as well. I'm still gonna find you though, but I'll let you off easy. How about just $5 this morning, Heather?
That sounds wonderful, Simon.
Okay, thank you. She's like, anything so I can stop talking, Simon. Thank you. Thank you.
Simon,
Yeah.
Simon, that depiction also looks a little bit like the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, yeah. Some kind of like majestic, I don't know, tiara or crown or something like that. Yeah. Or maybe she was raised Catholic, so there could also be maybe some religious connotation with a halo or something like that, some kind of crown. Yeah.
It just looks like a lot of iguanas.
It just looks like a lot of iguanas. Yeah, this is definitely one of her more popular pieces right here, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so telling of like a culture and a time and a place. This is not something that you just see every day, right? This is extraordinary and surreal almost too. Yeah, I love it.
But that might be part of it, is knowing the story that this is just a woman selling goods, but in the picture, it seems much more than that, almost like a headdress or some type of a ceremony. And that's what the other pictures too. It was all ordinary, everyday things for another culture, but displaying them in a certain way gives it more value, I guess, more ceremony.
Yeah. So much so.
It's really quite a coincidence because I just had some iguana and eggs this morning for breakfast.
Really, how was it?
Really good. Really, the pollo de arbor is quite good.
Good. Tree chicken.
Sal, were they locally harvested? Because you should stay within the food realm of where we live.
Well, I'm in beautiful Fort Bragg this morning, so they were here, but still quite fresh.
I would like to take this opportunity to remind Sal of the 4-way test.
Yeah, is it the truth, Sal?
Is it? You got me.
Yeah, okay. $5 fine for Sal there. Boom. Oh wait, he's in the Century Club, isn't he? Just a second. He's what? No, he's not. Okay, sorry, Sal. We're hitting you for $5. Yeah, one last thing is when I got married in Puerto Rico about going on 7 years ago, And there's tons of iguanas on the island, and they're non-native species there. They're kind of taken over. And so it's kind of like encouraged to like kill them, but they're actually destroying a lot of these national monuments like El Morro and stuff like that, because they go inside and they lay their eggs, and they're very I don't know, they're very destructive. So it's interesting. When we were at one of the national monuments, I asked the guy, I said, hey, you know, these are invasive species and everything, and they're destroying the monuments. Is it all right, like, if you took one out or something like that? And he said, I can't encourage it, but I'd look the other way. Anyway, okay, moving on. So, hey, Fortuna Sunrise Rotary Club is all fired up. So what are we all fired up about? Our club has decided that first responders are a great cause, and even more focused, our local fire department. So how do we raise funds in the world that we're currently living? Why not a pickup dinner coupled together with a virtual event? That'll be Saturday, May 22nd. We're about a month and a half out, everybody. And I know you've all been working hard in your general groups, kind of dreaming up things. And it seems like everybody's getting really focused and we're making that stuff happen. So I want to thank everybody who is getting all fired up with me. Simultaneously, let's see, can I do this? Simultaneously, we will be, let's see, we'll also be doing a non-perishable food drive that will benefit Food for People, our friends over at Food for People. And the food will be prepared, distributed at the Fortuna Fire Department with the help of our local fire fighters. And it'll be tri-tip dinner, pickup event, and also a virtual event later that night. We're going to have an auction, a bingo game, and I think we're going to, it's looking like we're probably going to use our friends at Carl's Johnson's for the auction there. So it should be an outstanding event. Okay. Oh, and I'm looking. Let's see. I just saw some of the chats here. Pretty funny. Okay, back to it, shall we? Okay. Am I all fired up? And okay. So before I hand it over to our program today, or to our program chair to introduce our program, I'm going to do one last recognition. So periodically every week I've been recognizing club members in different ways. And one of the ways I've been doing is doing a little caricature of them, drawing them, and then also talking a little bit about how awesome they are. And today I've got one for you, full on presentation. So you're ready. Are you ready? Who's going to be our recognized Rotarian of the day? It's going to be none other than John Sapper, past President John Sapper. John, look at that dashing illustration. Yeah, nice looking guy there. I put you in a rough and tumble vintage outdoorsman outfit because I would sum John up by 3 words: outdoorsman, chef, and family man. So let's go a little deeper, shall we? So John has always been an avid hunter and fisherman since he was a boy. And at about 8 years old, he would go fishing before school and after school, and often bring home a big salmon strapped to the handlebars of his bike. Now that would be an awesome photo to capture. And as an adult, John and his friends and their wives have been to Africa, New Zealand for big game hunting, which included sightseeing. Which included sightseeing, I lost my track, and meeting some pretty wonderful people. But most of Rotary knows that John went to Africa on another occasion. It wasn't for hunting, but it was to dedicate a water well that Rotary was sponsoring. And some of you might also know that this trip was in the Maasai, I think, village that was about 4 hours away in the bush, and was a guest of honor at dinner with their warrior chief. John studied the Maasai as a child, and it was a dream to actually meet them as a people. He said that this experience was one of the top highlights in his life, and it's a story unto itself. So if you don't know John, it's also a good story for him to tell. So maybe he'll give us a couple of words on that at the end. You've also been, John, different parts of the world for bird hunting, sport fishing for abalone, before it was closed down, he dove for abalone for about 48 years and loves fishing for salmon, steelhead trout, and enjoys fly fishing as well. And we've got a ton of fishing photos here of John throughout the years, and some ab diving photos as well. Look at John without a beard there. That's a pretty interesting side up in the top center there. And then also we've got him in the snow. I'm not sure where, so I'm assuming some northern area for maybe goose hunting or something like that. So, and this is me being not an outdoorsman at all. So I'm just guessing here. Chef, to say John is a foodie is a no-brainer because he is a gourmet chef. He used to have his own catering business while he was working at a community college in Coos Bay, Oregon. And most Rotarians know that John has put on some pretty fancy dinners that folks have bought through live auctions and Rotary fundraisers. He's helped out with our seafood boil. He's usually always got his foot in the kitchen. His house, it's got a huge kitchen, and everybody is encouraged to stay in the kitchen with him and chat and joke around. And it's just this kind of center of activity in his house. And on one such occasion, John invited guests over for dinner and afterwards decided he wasn't going to do the cooking, the guests would. And, you know, people weren't sure how it was going to turn out, but everything came out tasting amazing. And when all the guests arrived and everyone was asking what was on the menu for dinner, his response was, well, I decided that I'm not cooking tonight. All of you are. Tonight's dinner will be more like cooking school. And so he showed them the ingredients and they started working on it, pointed at his laptop, told them to start looking up recipes, and everybody jumped in and started cooking. And it was, the guests said it was one of the best dinners that they had ever had. And I love that. It's almost like a teacher approach there, you know? You invite everybody in with the guys that like, oh, I'm gonna show you something. And then you're like, no, you're gonna do the work with me, right? And it becomes this play thing. And play is some of the best ways that we can learn. So you can tell he's an educator too, right? Yeah. All right. And we'll end, let's see, if I could go to the last slide, family man. John is very family oriented, loves children with all his heart. He's been seeing countless times, no matter where he is, where he's traveling around, go up to a child, a baby, have a bit of a conversation with them. And even crying babies think his glasses are funny and creates a little bit of ease and joy. And he's very giving. He's a selfless man, and he's always very patient and loves to laugh, which we all probably know because he can joke and tease right off the cuff. His friends and family all, look, if his friends and family are in need, he thinks he can help, he goes out of his way and he makes it happen. He's just a giving spirit. And to finish up on the family tip, we'll also talk a little bit about his job. John's retired from the Humboldt County Office of Education. He was the Deputy Superintendent of Schools here at the Humboldt County Office of Ed. And during this time at the HCOE, he started the Innovate Contest, where he encouraged students to be entrepreneurs because he really believes in capitalism and the free market. He designed a decade of difference, a 10-year initiative, and I believe it just came to a close, but I could be wrong on that, which focused on early literacy, high school completion, and continued education to college and trade school, where over 1,000 community volunteers were involved. And being a CTE, career technical education teacher, I say hats off to you for putting together such an outstanding program. John Sapper. So everybody here in the club, let's give it up for Rotarian John Sapper. Woo! John, I know you don't like people talking about you, but here we are. But that rugged illustration has to be worth as much as maybe hors d'oeuvres at a fancy restaurant. How about a $20 fine?
John is in the Century Club.
Oh, goodness. Well, maybe you could pass on that $20 fine to somebody who's got a little bit more oomph to go.
Oh, no, I'll go ahead and we'll put it towards polio.
Okay, hot dog.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. You did quite a bit of digging there. You had to have had an informant.
You know, loose lips sink ships, John. You know? I don't want to lie because I'm a Rotarian, but I'm just going to abstain from telling the truth there on that one.
Well, thank you for that. That was very nice. And you mentioned that I do enjoy that. and cooking for folks. And I've tried a few folks with takeout stuff, and it hasn't worked. The quality compared to sit down dinner just hasn't been there. And so all of those folks who have had some takeout are here once we open up are going to be invited back, and they can have some sit down, and we'll do it the right way.
Love it. Love it. Thank you,
Hey,
John.
Simon,
Yes.
for various reasons, and Josh recently showed me a big kindness. Can you add that $20 onto me and let me pay that for him?
Outstanding. Yeah. Go. I mean,
I would just appreciate that. He knows. So
Okay.
thank you.
yeah.
Don, would you like that in polio? Because you're
Yeah,
in the century. Club.
whatever
Okay.
he wanted, just add it onto my bill.
Cool. Outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. The reason why I do this every week is so that we can realize some stuff maybe we didn't know. Maybe some of the new club members didn't know John loved to hunt or to cook and stuff like that. So you get to know everybody in the club, and sometimes it's just nice and refreshing to hear it. And also, I just like to draw people. So
I was a little
comment too there. One last comment.
please.
You shared some of the opportunities there that our club had in Africa in making a difference in with one community of about 4,500 people who walked 8 miles one way to get water with 5-gallon buckets every day, and another community of about 3,000 people. And the opportunity to bring clean water to them and actually visit and see the difference that makes in their lives, where they have clean water in the village compared to walking 6 to 8 miles one way. Could you imagine with a 5-gallon bucket and putting that on top of your head and walking back every day? So that's really too the power of Rotary and what Rotary can do through networks. And it wasn't just our club. There were other clubs in the county that joined. We wrote a grant with HEC support in doing that, matched it with a district grant, matched that with a Rotary International grant, partnered with a club in Tanzania. So that, I think, is an excellent example of the worldwide impact of Rotary and what can be done to really help people that have some significant challenges in that. So I just wanted to put that plug in there. Sometimes folks think, okay, Rotary is just a local club here and they have fun and do some small projects in the area. That not at all. I mean, this really opened my eyes of the power of Rotary and what can be done when you link with one of the 32,000 clubs around the world.
Yes, so much so. We are Rotary International, right? This is an international organization, and currently has hit top 10 nonprofits in the world. So that's what we're all believing in. That's what we're all buying into. Is that and in the short time I've been a Rotarian, I've seen it too. If you really get involved in the district and the international groups and stuff, there's all these interest groups that can take you places, right? Like Africa, like Bangladesh, like Seoul, Korea. I mean, it's amazing. So please try to get involved. I mean, I appreciate everybody gets involved on a local level, but try to get involved internationally too, or even nationally, because there's so much available through our district, through the nation. Yeah. I echo those statements. Okay.
And just so Scott Downey doesn't make a comment about how many abalone were in that inner tube, I know he was looking at it when it came up. That was taken years ago when the limit was 5 each. So just for clarification, Captain Scotty.
Yeah, I remember when the limit was 6, but I'll tell you, I counted the trout and you're busted.
Oh boy. Well,
I didn't say anything about the trout.
We'll leave that bunny suit picture that I kind of glazed over for maybe another meeting. I don't know if anybody saw that one, but anyway, we're gonna.
Oh yes, I saw it, and I was jealous.
A pregnant bunny.
A pregnant bunny, no less. The family man. Anyway, enough tomfoolery. Let's pass it over to our program chair, Erin Dunn, who will introduce this week's program. Erin.
Thank you, President Simon. Today we have people here from the Humboldt County Harm Reduction Coalition, and we want to welcome Hannah Lippe and Vanessa Vrtiak. Also, Brian Olson. He's not going to be part of the program, I don't think, but he is here from the Humboldt Harm Reduction Coalition. Hannah is a licensed clinical social worker. She earned her bachelor's degree in social work from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and then served in the Peace Corps in Zambia prior to moving to Humboldt in 2015, where she earned her master's degree in social work from Humboldt State. Hannah has worked with Providence St. Joseph Health in the Community Health Investment Department, focusing on perinatal population who are at risk or suffering a substance use disorder. Hannah joined the Humboldt Harm Reduction Coalition in 2019. Vanessa was raised in Humboldt County and has an MA in public sociology from Humboldt State. Vanessa worked in a variety of social systems, including serving homeless, foster youth, developing programs in the Humboldt County Correctional Facility, supporting Head Start students, and now in her current role as the school-based health Center Program Coordinator for Humboldt Independent Practice Association. Vanessa is also associate faculty at Pelican Bay Scholars and a recipient of the Paul Harris Fellowship Award and a member of the Humboldt Harm Reduction Coalition. I'm not sure how many of you had a chance to take the survey last night if you were having trouble with your email, but it was really thought-provoking about what is harm reduction. And at this time, I'm turning it over to Hannah and Vanessa.
All right, so thank you, Erin. Thank you, Simon, for having us. Thank you, everyone. This is quite an honor. I love our local Rotary clubs, and as Simon said, Rotary on an international level. This means a lot to me, and I've heard a lot about your guys' group and how lively you are, and and I get to see that this morning. It's fun to watch you guys kind of jab at each other and in the name of love. So this is an honor. So Hannah, I'll tell you to when to click through to the next slide, if that sounds good. So without further ado, so we were established in 2019. As Erin mentioned, we're currently comprised of individuals and organizations from a variety of backgrounds. Open Door Clinic, the Yurok Tribe, the Humboldt IPA, Crossroads Treatment Center, the Center, Affordable Housing and Homeless Alternatives, as well as Providence St. Joe's Health. Next slide. So our purpose is to advance harm reduction policies. And the essence of harm reduction is embodied in this idea that if a person is not willing to give up drug use, should we not assist them in reducing harm to themselves and others? So throughout this presentation, we're going to be talking about some of the key characteristics or principles of harm reduction. And I also want to say that in no way are we attempting to minimize or ignore the real and tragic harm and danger that can be associated with illicit drug use. Next slide. So I want to invite everybody to kind of think about a child who spins madly in order to make themselves dizzy, or a student who says, I can't face this class without another big cup of coffee. Or the professional at the end of the day who has a glass of wine or two or bourbon. Engaging in these practices that are pleasurable, mind-altering, stimulating. This is not unusual for our society. And all of this raises the question about what to do. How do we deal with addiction? And an important place to start is to acknowledge that as a society, we're profoundly conflicted about how we think about addiction and what we can do about it. On one hand, we see addiction through this lens of it being a medical problem. It will stay with people throughout their lives. It will require medical intervention, treatment. But on the other hand, many of us equally hold this notion that substance use is an indication of moral failure, that people who are drug addicts or alcoholics are weak, they lack willpower, they're bad people, they're deviants who should pay the price for their decisions. So I just kind of want to set that up as the framework for our conversation. Next slide. So in 2020, we launched this survey to measure harm reduction attitudes within Humboldt County. The Lost Coast Outpost helped us promote the survey, which gave us a pretty good response rate of 621 people. And overall, we just found that there was mixed thoughts about harm reduction. Our community had an okay understanding about what it was, but there still seemed to be some biases around substance use disorder and addiction. And this kind of led us to where we are today, to giving these presentations. And we thought that our Rotary clubs locally would be kind of a first perfect place to share our philosophies on harm reduction. Next slide. So there's this nice little picture of me, which is awkward, as you guys were saying earlier about awkward stuff. So I want to also say that throughout the presentation, we want to be really mindful of language. So stigma is one of the greatest challenges that people have when it comes to asking for help. And this is something that each of us can do to impact that. And during this presentation, you may be unfamiliar with some of the words, and this is kind of a list of alternative words or words that you can use in various settings. So I'm going to give everybody a couple seconds to kind of glance through this list. I don't like reading for people, so that's why I'm letting you all just kind of glance through it. And I want to add that most of us know someone who's been affected by substance use or a mental health disorder. So if a stranger was describing your loved one with words like that crazy addict, how would you feel? Would you rather hear something like, oh, someone who's suffering from schizophrenia, someone that is suffering with substance use disorder? So take note too that some of the support groups like NA or AA still identify with words like addict or alcoholic, but outside of being a member in a support group, we encourage you not to use these words. And then some folks may not be familiar with words like pharmacotherapy, which is also medication for opioid use disorder. And yeah, language is really important and we're all learning. So next slide, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Hannah, for now.
Great. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And the coalition really believes that harm reduction can apply to all of your life. But as she spoke, we are going to talk about drug use. And so I'm just going to kind of focus on the first part of this definition that's from the National Harm Reduction Coalition. And harm reduction is a set of practical strategies and ideas aimed at reducing negative consequences associated with drug use. So what's a practical strategy? I grew up in Wisconsin where alcohol use is very common and integrated in lots of part of the culture. And growing up, I remember hearing very often, like, every time you have an alcoholic drink, drink a glass of water in between. And that saved me a lot of headaches. Another thing that I learned growing up was, if you're going to go gambling, just bring a certain amount of money. Do not bring your paycheck. Like if it, back when I was growing up, it was bring $20. Maybe it's a little bit more now, but those are practical strategies for reducing harm. Using alcohol, a lot of us use alcohol. It doesn't mean that all of us have a substance use disorder with alcohol, and kind of figuring out like where people on that spectrum. So some people never use alcohol. Some people maybe for holidays, some people maybe more regular social use. Sometimes that turns into more problematic use, and that can creep into having more dangerous use or chaotic use. And I know that just based on from hearing from different clubs and organizations and agencies, I know that COVID has really impacted a lot of people with their alcohol use, being isolated, not being able to have those conversations. So even if you're more of a regular user, that could increase depending on the stressors in your life. All right, so I did just want to highlight, and Vanessa's already talked about this, but substance use disorder is a real disease and it's a chronic brain disease. And if you think of some other brain diseases like ALS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, these are really complex diseases. And I know when I first started working with this population, I really didn't understand how this disorder affected the brain. And being able to understand how the brain is impacted has helped me able to better identify some behaviors that we see in the community that we're like, what is this person thinking? Why would they choose to do that? And so we could really honestly just talk about this for 30 minutes straight. And I just wanted to highlight that everyone in the coalition has learned so much working together and exchanging resources. And there's a bunch of really great resources out there that help you kind of like break this down. For instance, there's a really wonderful 20-minute video by Dr. Corey Waller. He's actually come to Humboldt at least 3 times. I've heard him speak 3 times. He's wonderful and really breaks it down like what's happening with your brain. So if that's an interest to you, please let me and Vanessa know, and we're more than happy to connect you to resources. So why should we care? 2020 has been a really rough year looking at COVID for our community. And we've heard the responses, I think even this week, still hearing radio announcements. I know at work, I'm still certainly impacted with how I do things, different protections. And unfortunately, 22 people lost their lives to COVID in 2020. And comparing it, I just wanted to focus on in 2020, kind of what did it look like for substance use disorder deaths as well. So you can look at total substance use disorder deaths, there's 47. 36 of those were either an accidental poisoning or some people say overdose. And alcohol actually has its own category. Even to me, it would be still a substance use. 58 people lost their lives, and 35 of those were alcohol liver disease deaths. So to me, that shows that's not just like a 1 year, I had a hard year, that's over a period of time. So looking at these numbers, it's really showing that this is an issue that in Humboldt, we really need to start looking at more closely and trying different things, because what we've done in the past isn't working, and there's a lot of people who are losing their lives. Another great report that came out either at the very end of 2020 or early 21, there was a report that looked at all of California counties and looked at their opioid overdose rates, their HIV and HCV rates up through 2017. And unfortunately, Humboldt was ranked high in all 3 of those categories. So that's pretty grim, but what can we do? And so our coalition really believes that harm reduction has a place to help lower the risk for people and help provide a little bit more safety for some people. So some of those examples could be as simple as using a designated driver. Another one is testing legal and illegal drugs for users. So that could be 2 different ways. One is that I know quite a few people who are in recovery who really love to be able to test and show someone that like, hey, I'm doing okay. It's also really expensive to continually test every 2 weeks with a certain facility. Another thing is perhaps this Rotary knows a few weeks ago, there was a youth that took a Percocet and they accidentally poisoned themselves. They didn't realize that there was fentanyl in it, and fentanyl is an opioid that you just need a teeny bit of bit, and it makes things really strong. And unfortunately, they put things in different kind of like masking like opioids. So people might think like, oh, I'm just taking an Oxycontin, but they don't realize fentanyl is in it. So looking at some of those deaths earlier from 2020, the accidental poisonings, fentanyl has had a play in that. So that's something that allows people to be able to test, like, is this just an opioid? Is there fentanyl in it? They're able to do that. Reducing use of the substance. So I know many people who are like, you know what, with COVID, I'm having a really hard time with alcohol. I'm not going to drink during the work week. That's absolutely harm reduction. Another one is locking up substances. You know, I work with the perinatal population, so I have a lot of discussions about cannabis use and locking that up. You know, if it happens, it does happen that kids get into different cannabis and they get sick and then they end up at the hospital. Another thing about locking up your substances is thinking about more of our elder community. And we have grandkids that are very curious and are wanting to experiment. And so really locking that up reduces harm to your family. Syringe exchange programs. In that report that I was telling about, kind of going up through 2017, that was one of the solutions that they encouraged. And Humboldt County actually does have 4 syringe exchange programs, one with the county, one at Kamau in Hoopa, one at Redwoods Rural, more down in Soham, and then with the Humboldt County Area Center for Harm Reduction. We have distribution of naloxone, which Vanessa will talk about in the next slide. And then also pharmacotherapy, which Vanessa had talked about. It's specific medications that help people who have a substance use disorder and allows them to be able to function in the community again and really use more of their rational brain again. So fortunately, we have many different sites and agencies who are able to do pharmacotherapy in our county.
And I know that we're running out of time, but I want to talk a little bit about naloxone. And I also want to stress that the whole reason that we're here today, like the heart of the matter, is just really taking away the stigma from harm reduction and what it means, because many of us do use some sort of substances, whether it be coffee or alcohol or whatever. And then also to just encourage everyone to have compassion, to really think about this as a disease. And I know that as Rotarians, you all have so much compassion for people, and that's why we are doing this work with you and trying out these presentations with you. So naloxone is a medication that reverses opioids, and it can save someone's life. It takes 5 minutes. A lot of different places use it, whether it be the fire department or different agencies in the community. We did a presentation with the Eureka Rotary Club, and we actually have a couple naloxone specific trainings now planned with agencies in the community. So if your organization that you work for might be interested in having this training, we can do that for you and then provide your business or organization with naloxone, which is really awesome. So I also want to say that it's an important tool, but it's not the solution for the opioid crisis. So yeah, thinking about carrying naloxone personally or having it in your place of business. Next slide. So what's next? We hope that you will be a harm reductionist, of course. So we hope that you will have these conversations with your loved ones, within your business, within anyone that wants to engage in having these conversations with you, and that you'll look more into this idea of harm reduction through resources and thinking about your own biases. Hannah, do you want to take the last ones?
Yeah, and I think it just, you know, earlier on, Vanessa, you talked about language. And when I first started this work, I felt like I don't know anything about this. Like I cannot do anything to help this community. But really, like all of us, like from carrying naloxone to like the language that we use, and even just correcting people like, oh, that person has a substance use disorder, or that person using that person first language, it goes so far. So you do have an impact in this community, and just wanted to highlight, if you can do one thing, just helping to reduce the stigma and making it easier for people to say, you know what, I need a little bit more help.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're opening it up for questions or comments. If anybody has any, thank you for listening to our presentation. I love that you guys do that. That's like spirit fingers.
Yeah, is there any questions for, yeah, I hear somebody. Okay, go for it. No, maybe not. Any questions for Vanessa and Hannah? You got, like I say in the classroom, you covered all the bases because nobody has any questions. Thank you so much.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
It seems like of course, we've heard a lot in the media and the news about various harm reduction organizations in our community, but I'm kind of impressed by the membership of your group. It seems like professionals from our medical community, from our social services, and educators and things like that. So I just wanted to put out there that what we have seen in our community, we have to kind of look at in a big picture, and that not all harm reduction groups are the same. And I just want to applaud you for your coalition.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yeah.
all. Thank you for having us. We really
You're so
appreciate
very
it.
Thank you. It definitely got me thinking a lot. So I
Awesome.
think that's good. You know, everybody can kind of go home and unpack what we've learned today and try to apply it in our lives, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's
All
not
right.
too late to take the survey, is it? I mean, if people wanted
No.
to go back in the email and take the survey.
Yeah, and we're going to send you actually a link for after the presentation too, to see if any of this helped kind of influence the way that we think about harm reduction. And then we're going to share the results with all the Rotary clubs that we presented to. And I think that'll be really interesting. So yeah, it's not too late.
Cool. Yeah, so once again, dig back into that email. It's very similar to how we've been doing our board of directors voting. It's a Google form. You should be pros by now. All right. Well, let's see. In the sake of getting everybody out here right about 8, let's do the drawing, shall we?
$75.
75 big ones. All right, I'm going to draw a ticket with a name on it. And that person is... See, are they still here? I don't think so. Oh no, he is. Seth McGrath. Hey, buddy. Big money could be coming your way. Let's see here. Oh no, just pay $5. So anticlimactic. Okay. Well, darn. Thanks, Seth.
Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we part ways here this morning? I'd like to thank Hannah and Vanessa again. Thanks so much for being here and sharing. And thanks everybody for being outstanding. Have a wonderful Wednesday. And we'll see you next week, if not sooner. Have a marvelous Rotary Day. This club meeting is adjourned.
Bye, everyone.